Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much for the reading of the text, Minister. You are so gifted. Amen. I'm going to add just one other passage to the passage, and that it is that verse 24, that talks about the judge of all and the spirits and the righteous made perfect, and to Jesus, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood which speaks better than the blood of Abel. And then there's a passage over in 2 Timothy 1:7 that says, God does not give us a spirit of fear, but rather of love, power, and a sound mind, of self-discipline and self-control. This season that we are in, this current time, has been for us a spirit of fear. I've talked to many people, and their concerns are about the loss of jobs, presence of war, unexplainable weather throughout the nation and world, something that I call piss-poor politics, concern about voting rights, gay and trans rights, food shortage, fear across the nation, and now fear around the world. Let's talk for a while, beloved. Fear is generational, and it is hard to get under control. We are told what to fear, and then we add to it. Historically, religion is a major culprit because it includes supernatural demons that lurk around waiting for us to slip so that they can exact major retribution in our lives. Some people who consider themselves religious attack us because we believe in God, and they use godly fear to give us terror. Religion can be an incredible weapon when there's a disappointment, but also when there's an idea that one religion is greater than the other. Fear is also institutional and a very useful tool in the hands of a nation or a government or a religion that knows how to use it. The formula is that any fear response is justifiable to secure the safety of oneself. Can I say that again? The formula is that any fear response is justifiable to secure the safety of oneself and one's family and the institutions that one holds dear. Folks who want you to be afraid simply have to create a villain so heinous that a terrified response is warranted. You can see the process in any action film, any action movie, where even our sainted mothers, beloved mothers and fathers, will call for the villain's blood if the scriptwriter and the actor can make the villain look evil enough. Your grandmother, your wonderful, sweet grandmother, can holler out, kill him, if she can be convinced that the person or the circumstance requires that kind of response. Fear is controlling, and it holds creative, innovative, and effervescent people hostage. I'm saying that because of the present time that we are in. Fear is controlling, and it holds creative, innovative, and effervescent people hostage. Particularly if there is someone else's failure to point to. See what happened to Jim. Imagine Jim is a concept here. Someone will say, see what happened to Jim when he stepped out. That same thing can happen to you if you take a risk. That's the way fear speaks. Fear makes us listen, and we stop, and we regret, and often find ourselves in despair. That's the intention of those who would have you live in a perpetual valley of fear. The text that our own sister and daughter and minister read just a minute ago, Minister Ursula, talks about Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai in this text represents fear. Many of us who were trained to associate God and religion with fear would understand Mount Sinai. Listen to the words that described Mount Sinai in the text. Mount Sinai was gloomy, full of darkness, full of tempests and whirlwind, fire and multiple lightning flashes. A terrifying place, thought of as the habitation of a terrifying God. A terrifying place, thought as the habitation of a terrifying God. The voice of God is described as so frightening and so awesome that the people begged that God talk to Moses only. And then Moses could come tell them what God said. You go talk to God, Moses, and then come back and tell us what God said. This was not a description of a relational, loving God. This God is angry. This God is punitive. This God is terrible. And this God is unbelievably sensitive. These images evoke the thoughts of the history of Christianity. These images were in circumstances and situations called the Crusades and the Inquisitions that led to the hangings and the blood and the burnings and the excommunications and the trials by drowning and slavery and the subjugation of women and the abuse of same-gender loving people. We had to create a mad God, an angry God, and use that angry God to be angry about all the things that we are angry about. It reminds me of Bible-based manifest destiny and patriarchy. Black clothes, starched shirts, skirts, all sorts of requirements, selfish piety, with no regard for the kindness that is a part of the heart of God, or no regard for those who are different. Religion as a weapon. And I see images of mothers right now caught in the unnecessary war that brought 75 plus young girls to death in the middle of an angry and unnecessary war. Mothers crying for mercy for their children to the same God that other mothers are also crying to by another name. People doing frightful things because they are cowards under the wrath of a frightful God. But there's another passage that Minister Ursula shared with us. Look now to the words that describe Zion. Zion is the other. Zion is the symbol that it is the place where Christ reigns. Zion, the place where grace is victorious. Zion, the place where legalistic fear-based religion does not exist. Zion is the safe home for the believer. There is protection on Mount Zion for the company of angels and the fellowship of the general assembly of the people of God, witnessing both living and dead. What else is in Zion? Jesus, the advocate and the mediator who stands against all who accuse us, whose death, whose blood is not seeking revenge like Abel's, but rather it is shed for our redemption and reconciliation. Zion. You would think that if people of God could move from such a dreadful place and be moved to Mount Zion, you would think that they would desire it, this place of assurance and joy. They would go to it straightway. But it seems that fearmongers are also powermongers. And the fearful need to fear God in order to respect God and in order to use God as a weapon. I call it a form of spiritual masochism. It follows the classic model of spousal or parental abuse. If you really want to know God, you got to be prepared for God to beat you up. If you really want to know God, you got to find religion that only includes certain people and doesn't include other people. If you really want to know God, this is what the saints used to say to us. If you really want to know God, you have to learn how to suffer. You have to suffer. You just have to suffer because God is sensitive and angry. But notice the balance of the chapter that suggests that though there is a shaking coming, it will not destroy us. Listen to the passage. Read it on your own sometime. There may be a shaking, but the shaking will not win because it cannot destroy us. Let us remember with godly and relational reverence that we have received a kingdom full of grace and not of terror. And we are not obligated to free ourselves. We are not obligated to free ourselves from religious and political tyranny and then to set about freeing others. We are not obligated, but we are encouraged, however,